What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Malt Mondays, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Glen Moray 25-year-old.
In Scotland, would you accidentally drive up to Talisker?
The Glen Moray 25-year-old is something that I haven't tried a lot of their other products, so I can't speak to the whole lineup of Glen Moray. I've had the 12-year-old a long time ago, and I remember liking it okay. I remember thinking it's very similar to Glenfiddich 12-year-old, but I haven't had any of their other products. So with the 25-year-old, though, what they're doing is finishing in port casks. So it spends 25 years in ex-bourbon barrels and then some period of extra maturation in port pipes. Well, how long is that finish? Looked on their website, couldn't find anything. Looked up other information, did my best to research it, see if ambassadors had said at some point or the brand manager had said at some point. I couldn't find anything, so if you know, let me know down in the comments below. But I couldn't find anything as far as how long this spends in port casks. So I would assume that it's very similar to the way Balvenie is doing their 21-year-old portwood or their 12-year-old doublewood, where it spends the full period of the age statement in the ex-bourbon barrels and then 3 to 6 months in the port casks. So some of Glen Moray's other whiskeys are labeled as unchill filtered. I didn't see that on this one labeled anywhere, so I don't know if this one's being filtered or not. I would guess, based on the fact that many of their other whiskeys are labeled that way, that it's not chill filtered, but I don't know. As well as with the coloring, we have to assume that it is coloring added since they don't state. And most distilleries, if they're using natural color only, they kind of take it as a point of pride and they make sure to let you know that. So you may be wondering why I poured this in the Copita glass instead of a Glencairn. Typically, I taste my whiskeys from a Glencairn glass, but I found when reviewing this one that it's such a light whiskey. It's such a delicate whiskey that the Glencairn was actually too large a glass to really be able to smell and the aromas of this whiskey very well. So the Copita is a little bit of a smaller glass. And so for this particular whiskey, I found that I preferred it from this glass and I was able to smell it a little bit more. And finally, it's bottled at 43% ABV, which is nice to see. A lot of times with these lighter Speyside whiskeys, they're being from lesser known brands. They're being bottled at 40%. So 43 is nice to see. But again, artificially colored and potentially chill filtered. So on the nose. The first thing I get is red apple and vanilla. And that makes sense. Speyside whiskeys typically have those appley aromas. The long period of time in the ex-bourbon casks gives you that vanilla. This immediately reminds me of the Balvenie 21-year-old portwood. So that port finishing is coming through just a little bit, but even more than the Balvenie 21-year-old portwood, this seems to just have a really, really delicate aroma, to the point where it makes it hard to really latch on to any individual aroma. There's definitely evidence of the age on this, though. There's some oak spice, some just really dried old stave kind of smell. Definitely get some aroma of the warehouse on this one. But it has a little bit of a vibrancy to it. So for the age, it does still smell vibrant. It doesn't smell over oaked. But it's not a very complex aroma. And typically at the 25-year-old age, you start getting really, really complex whiskeys. So I'm a little bit surprised by that here. All right, so let's see how it tastes. It tastes really good. Those red apples are right up front again. There's a little bit of brown sugar. A little bit syrupy. There's a lot of fruitiness to it from the port, and it very smoothly transitions into the finish. The oak is coming out now. Subtle, not overbearing, not too dry, not too tannic. There's a little bit of spiciness coming through, but a little bit of leather. But again, it's starting to fade already. It is there, but it's very subtle. And again, the flavors here are great. There's just not that much of them. It's such a light whiskey. So, man, this is hard. This is a $250 to $300 bottle. So to put that in perspective, for a 25-year-old whiskey, that's a pretty reasonable price. Most 25-year-old single malts are being priced in the 400 plus range, depending on how well known the brand is. And even brands that were very recently quite affordable, like the Bunnahabhain 25-year-old, was not too long ago in the $350, $400 range, is now up to the $600, $700 price point. So for a 25-year-old malt, this isn't too terribly priced compared to a lot of what's out there. But I don't think this is any better than the Balvenie 21-year-old Portwood. And you're paying $50 more or $100 more, depending on where you're finding this. And I feel like it should be better for being, it's older, it's more expensive. And so, as much as price doesn't always indicate quality, when you're spending the money, you should be buying better whiskey if you're spending more money. And I just don't get that here. I don't think... To me, this tastes like the port finishing was about 2 days or a week. The port is so incredibly light on this. If you told me that it was sherry, I'd believe you. If you told me this was 10 out of the 9 out of 10 barrels used to make this were ex-bourbon and one was sherry, I'd believe you because it's so incredibly subtle. Now, a lot of people may like that. For a lot of people, that's what they want. They want a really light, delicate, balanced whiskey. And if that's what you're looking for, I think this fits the bill. I think I think for people who like Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, Balvenie, I think all those lighter, really light, more delicate Speyside whiskeys, I think this is going to be up your alley. But if I had a choice between this and any of the others, I would prefer a Balvenie 21-year-old Portwood. I would prefer a Glenfiddich 21-year-old Caribbean Grand Reserva, because although that is a really light, delicate, and somewhat overpriced whiskey, the rum finish isn't that common, and it gives it a little bit of character that you don't normally get. And so I think it somewhat more justifies that price point. So that being said, let me know what you think of this one. And remember, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Both of those help me out a lot. And remember, until next time, cheers.